So welcome everyone to this 12th annual 100,000 Poets for Change poetry reading. This entire project was started by Michael Rothenberg and Terry Carrion some years ago, over 12 years ago, and it has caught on, and across the globe at the same time, there are hundreds of events that are going on. Similar events where people are celebrating the transformative power of poetry. I want to welcome you very warmly, those of you who are participating for the first time, and those of you who are participating as repeat participants. And hopefully we'll start very soon. This one is also, this particular event is not just the celebration of poetry, which it is obviously for change, peace, sustainability, justice, but it is also a memorial to Michael Rothenberg, who unfortunately passed away last November after a very severe attack of cancer. And he will be missed by people across the globe as it is. I don't want to take up time at all because there are lots of you who have to read, and of course we need to have people come in and welcome you here as well. But I will just share this very short poem called Yokai for Michael Rothenberg with all of you to set the ball rolling. Just as a sort of footnote, yokai is, which is both plural and singular, with the spirits in Japanese folklore of people who pass away, but these spirits remain for a while on the earth before, and doing good mostly, but they could also sometimes not have a very beneficent influence. Mostly it is good though. So yokai. Will someone rescue these demented lines? The season on fire, the moon is out harvesting this fall. It's tuft of hair unruly on its brow. What reckoning awaits? A field of furrows gleaned, a stony bed for bones, the spirit fled. Amigo, are you there? Beyond the sickly moonlight, a black-crowned night heron shakes its wings and pulls back its head. Do you hear the dwellers of these marshes? Their odes to the subterfuge that is life. Hermano, it is you I'm trying to reach. In a blaze of blue flames, the bird is on the wing. Its cries glittering gold dust. But the moon has not yet run out of its spite. Go in peace, for your breath is now spores of light on the wind's back, floating across oceans, coursing over river-veined lands and lake-lunged landscapes, caressing the skin of leaves, settling on the backs of butterflies, seeding the hearts of young and old alike. One body only you have shed, and bird taken another. Thank you for listening to this. I am going to invite our Vice President and Dean of Faculty, Rachel Browser, to please come to the podium and welcome you all on behalf of the college. Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me to be here. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Bowser. I'm the Dean of the College here at Agnes Scott, and I'm so grateful to all of you for being here, and I'm so grateful to Waqas for organizing this and for asking me to come this morning. I had just a quick story I wanted to tell as an intro, and then as an intro to the poem I'm going to read. So this week I was meeting with some students who were nominating for scholarships, Rhodes and Mitchell and Marshall. And one of the students her interest in postgraduate study is in computer science. And she's known for a long time, since high school, that she wanted to study computer science, and has been taken, we don't have that major here, and so has been taking advanced mathematics at Agnes Scott, but has been going over to Georgia Tech to take some computer science classes. And so I asked her, why is it that you, a young woman with an interest in computer science, ended up at this college that doesn't have a computer science major? And without hesitating, she said, computer science knowledge is portable, and I can learn it through cross-registration or through modules, but the people you learn with and the way you learn shapes what you do with what you learn. And I wanted to be at a place where I wouldn't see the world the way it is and learn to accept it that way. And I thought that was such an insight. It really moved me. And it put me in mind of a poem. There's a word that everybody will know. When she talked about the way that you learn shapes what you do with the knowledge. I heard in my head the line from Auden's poem in memory of W.B. Yeats that poetry makes nothing happen, but is a way of happening. So that's the poem I wanted to read today. It seemed to me like a poem about Yeats is as good a poem as any to start with for a event that is about the relationship between poetry and change and poetry and activism. So in memory of W.B. Yeats, I have my grad school copy of Autumn. He disappeared in the dead of winter. The books were frozen, the airports almost deserted, and snow disfigured the public statues. The mercury sank in the mouth of the dying day. What instruments we have agree, the day of his death was a dark, cold day. Far from his illness, the wolves ran on through the evergreen forests. The peasant river was untempted by the fashionable quays. By morning tongues, the death of the poet was kept from his poems. But for him, it was his last afternoon as himself, an afternoon of nurses and rumors. The provinces of his body revolted, the squares of his mind were empty, silence invaded the suburbs, the current of his feeling failed. He became his admirers. Now he is scattered among 100 cities and wholly given over to unfamiliar affections to find his happiness in another kind of wood and be punished under foreign code of conscience. The words of the dead man are modified in the guts of the living. But in the importance and noise of tomorrow, where the brokers are roaring like beasts on the floor of the bourse, and the poor have the sufferings to which they are fairly accustomed, and each in the cell of himself is almost convinced of his freedom. A few thousand will think of this day as one thinks of a day when one did something slightly unusual. What instruments we have agree. The day of his death was a dark, cold day. You were silly like us. Your gift survived it all. The parish of rich women, physical decay, yourself. Mad Ireland hurt you into poetry. Now Ireland has her madness and her weather still, for poetry makes nothing happen. It survives in the valley of its making where executives would never want to tamper, flows on south from ranches of isolation and the busy griefs, raw towns that we believe and die in. It survives a way of happening, a mouth. Earth receive an honored guest, William Yeats is laid to rest. Let the Irish vessel lie, emptied of its poetry. In the nightmare of the dark, all the dogs of Europe bark, and the living nations wait, each sequestered in its hate. Intellectual disgrace stares from every human face, and the seas of pity lie, locked and frozen in each eye. Follow, poet, follow right to the bottom of the night. With your unconstraining voice, still persuade us to rejoice. With the farming of a verse, make a vineyard of the curse. Sing of human unsuccess in a rapture of distress. In the deserts of the heart, let the healing fountain start. In the prison of his days, teach the free man how to praise. Thank you all so much for being here with us.
Right. Next, I'm going to call upon Bobby Meyers-Lee, who's the chair of the English department, and he'll say a few words as well to welcome everyone and maybe share a poem with us.
So my name is Bobby Meyers-Lee. I'm currently chair of the English department. Thanks to everybody for coming, both in Decatur and internationally. Many of you have participated in this before, perhaps numerous times, but I thought I would just review a little bit about this wonderful event. 100,000 Poets for Change, founded, as Waqas just mentioned, in 2011 by Michael Rothenberg and Terry Carrion, and this year's event, a kind of celebration of Michael Rothenberg's life. The mission of 100,000 Poets for Change is to realize the global presence for poetry, promoting peace, sustainability, and justice, and calling for social, environmental, and political change. The organization strives, in short, to promote both activism and poetry by demonstrating the power of their combination. So through 2019, the organization achieved its mission by orchestrating a coordinated series of poetry readings held on the same day at various locations around the world. With the pandemic, this effort did not end, but was rather supplemented. As everybody will remember, we all had to learn that the term hybrid, named not just a post-colonial concept, but also a mode of accessibility that, however imperfect, could in theory bring together the local and global with unprecedented immediacy, like at this moment. Today's lineup of reader plainly attests that the 100,000 Poets for Change event at Agnes Scott is doubly global, both across readings hosted in various places, and both within the readings as well as within the people participating in them. If we can pull this off, we will have an interwoven international tapestry of activist poetry. I don't think I need to remind anyone of the urgency at this moment of joining hands to celebrate and affirm the value of activist poetry, as we live in a time when powerful politicians are bullying the systems that they control into the suppression of exactly that. Just to name two examples, in the United States, from a Florida elementary school's banning of Amanda Gorman's inauguration poem to Senator Tommy Tuberville's accusing the Navy of being woke because they are, as he put it, doing poems on aircraft carriers over a loudspeaker. We all know that the forces aligned against activist poetry are great, and yet the very intensity of this onslaught is in fact a testament to its power. And so it calls us to continue to give voice to that which these forces seek to suppress. Here at Agnes Scott, the event is made possible by generous financial support from the James T. and Ella Rather Kirk Fund, which was established by alumna, artist, writer, and trustee Mary Wallace Kirk in honor of her parents. The Kirk Fund supports and enriches academic programs in history, music, literature, art, and philosophy. For today's event, thanks are also due to Agnes Scott's peerless events and communications coordinator, Leah Owenby, and to the really extraordinary efforts of IT experts Lamar Green, Calvin Bergamy, and Macleb Lyle, with further assistance from Carson Neubauer. But the largest credit, of course, goes to my colleague in the English department, Ellen Douglas Leyburn, professor of English, Waqas Khwaja, a man who does everything: scholar, poet, translator, editor, teacher, and 100,000 Poets for Change, a master extraordinaire. Somehow he's found time year after year to organize and host this increasingly complex poetry reading. So I'm going to turn the mic over to him, back to him in a second, in a moment. But Waqas really encouraged me to read a poem. Most English professors whom I'm acquainted with have deep anxieties about the areas of literature about which they know relatively little. And I'm exhibit A in this regard when it comes to contemporary poetry. So I'm not going to try that. But urged on by Waqas to read something, I thought what might serve as an apt launching point was the rather famous 17th century account of the mythological first moments of the history of human striving as such, which begins, of course, with our expulsion from paradise. So here at the very end of John Milton's Paradise Lost, Eve has just told Adam of her vision of humanity's future, after which the narrator finishes the story off in this way. So spake our mother Eve, and Adam heard well pleased, but answered not. For now too nigh the archangel stood, and from the other hill to their fixed station, all in bright array, the cherubim descended, on the ground gliding victorious, as evening mist risen from river o'er the marish glides and gathers round fast, at the laborer's heel homeward returning. High in front advanced the brandished sword of God, before them blazed, fierce as a comet, which with torrid heat and vapor as the Libyan arid dust, began to parch that temperate clime, whereat in either hand the hastening angel caught our lingering parents, and to the eastern gate led them direct, and down the cliff as fast to the subjected plain, then disappeared. They, looking back, all the eastern side beheld of paradise, so late their happy seat, waved over by that flaming brand, the gate with dreadful faces thronged in fiery arms. Some natural tears they dropped, but wiped them soon. The world was all before them, where to choose their place of rest, and Providence their guide. They, hand in hand, with wandering steps and slow, through Eden took their solitary way. So please give a hand to Waqas as he comes back and leads this amazing event for the rest of the day.